dreams and folding notes, counting steps, not just the goals, learning how to ask, not wait, finding courage in small debates.
There are moments when the truth walks quietly into a room and the noise rushes in behind it, shouting, gesturing, waving headlines like weapons. Today is one of those moments. 3 stories, 3 attempts to distort reality, and 3 reminders that courage, when practiced consistently, does not need permission. We're going to talk about a film, a man, and a moment in global leadership. And we're going to do it without anonymous sources or whispers, without tabloid theatrics, and without pretending we don't know how power works. Welcome. This is Majesty Sussex Report, and I'm Antonio. Thank you so very much for spending some of your valuable time here with us. Don't go anywhere.
They listen, they try, they adjust the plan, learning who they are while they can. Every answer opens doors to questions they hadn't seen before. They're learning how to lead, one step, one voice, one choice at a time, learning how to see what's possible when they trust their minds, not racing to the finish line, just learning how to lead.
Let's begin where joy should have been allowed to stand unchallenged. The premiere of Cookie Queens at Sundance Film Festival, a documentary following young girls navigating ambition, teamwork, pressure, and learning, not ideology, not grievance, not spectacle, but growth. The film premiered as scheduled. It screened to engaged audiences. It received warm reception from festival attendees and critics who actually saw it. That part is not debatable. What was attempted almost immediately was the familiar sleight of hand that, well, not the film failed, not the film was rejected, but the more insidious phrase, well, not everyone showed up. This is how doubt is planted, not with facts, but with implication. No verified Sundance data contradicts the film's successful premiere. No official festival statement supports claims of underperformance. No named sources, no ticketing records, no programmer quotes, just suggestion. And suggestion, repeated often enough, begins to masquerade as truth. But here's the problem for the merchant of doubt. A story about young girls learning resilience does not collapse because a tabloid wants it to. A documentary does not fail because it wasn't framed for outrage. The film did what it set out to do. And the discomfort some felt had nothing to do with attendance and everything to do with who was associated with it. That is the story beneath the story.
Big. Even if you're still at Sundance, just got a little softer, sweeter, and cuter. Because Cookie Queens just walked in and people online are already in their feelings. Cookie Queens follows 4 Girl Scouts through cookie season. It's about goal setting, teamwork, confidence, and learning how to show up for yourself when the stakes feel big. Even if you're still a kid. Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, has shared that this project is personal because she was a Girl Scout herself. So this story comes from memory. And the reaction? Warm. Genuinely warm. Girl Scout communities are buzzing. Former Scouts are feeling nostalgic. Parents are sharing clips. Regular viewers are saying the premise alone feels comforting and watchable. A documentary about cookie season premiering at Sundance feels like a collective exhale. People are calling it wholesome in the best way. What keeps popping up in the comments is how refreshing it feels to center young girls and their inner worlds. Viewers love that the spotlight is on growth, grit, and tiny victories. There's a lot of "this is adorable," "this is inspiring," and "I would absolutely watch this with my family." That kind of reaction is lasting. Clips from the premiere show real crowd energy, smiles, applause, that soft kind of excitement that people feel proud of something before they've even seen the whole story. The tone online is affectionate. It's people rooting for these kids, and that's the magic. The conversation isn't stuck on celebrity. It's about the girls. It's about watching confidence form. It's about remembering what it felt like to try your best when the world was smaller. That's a good sign of any documentary. It means the heart of the story is already reaching people. It means the audience is already connecting. And that's the read. This is the Notorious JTB, notoriously opinionated, signing out.
What my experience of it is that, from when we first showed footage to Archel Productions and the whole team, that Meghan really fell in love with the film. She felt like, as a Girl Scout herself, her mom was her troop leader, that this spoke to her. And the girls in the film, I think she really believed in my vision that their stories would resonate with people everywhere, and that we could create something that was really universally relatable through Girl Scout cookies, but go well beyond it.
That after witnessing a traumatic event, some people are encouraged to play Tetris. And the reason being is that if you do it within 6 hours of witnessing the traumatic event, you are 62% less likely to have flashbacks of said traumatic event. From everything that I've gathered about it, it's about repetitiveness. You get your mind onto something and you focus on that thing, and that helps alleviate the stress of your nervous system dealing with the traumatic event. So with that in mind, I am going to keep making Duchess Meghan videos, debunking lies, telling the truth, because I feel like now, even more than ever, even if it's just a single person, even if it's something as small as this dude just make an entire article full of lies, it's important to get the truth out, no matter what. And my repetitive task is debunking propaganda. It makes me feel good, even if sometimes I get real pissed about it. But with that in mind, I'm going to make the video, and I hope you enjoy the 5 lies that I get to debunk in this article alone. And it's a really short article, too. And rest in peace, Alex Pretty. You will be missed. So, Page 6 wrote this article. A guy named Johnny Oleksinski wrote it. Never heard of him. He's not important. And he says, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle don't sell out their Sundance Film Festival 2026 screening. Just the headline alone, and it's really easy to go check the schedule for all of the films, shorts, animated, everything to do with Sundance. And look, sold out down the board. So your headline begins with a lie, Johnny. You go on to say that roughly 150 unoccupied spots remained in the balcony, plus some scattered chairs on the ground. So did you count these? And did you document any kind of evidence of this? Because you've already lied to us, Johnny. I can't believe what you're saying. I can't take your word for it. You have, as a journalist, already betrayed my trust. So I can't believe anything you say now. I need to go authenticate it myself. And because you have not given me any proof of these unoccupied spots, I'm going to have to lean on the side of you're lying again. So that's 2 lies already within the first 2 paragraphs. You mention Olivia Colman, Charlie XCX, and Natalie Portman and all of their movies being packed to the grill, but apparently so is Duchess Meghan's movie that she produced, because it's also sold out. And her movie doesn't even have anyone that's like a name like all these that you're talking about. So impressive. You then go on to say that the screening began about 10 minutes late, which was unusual for tightly scheduled festival. But is it, Johnny? Do you really know Sundance Film Festival all that well? Are you trying to create narratives for deranged people to run with? Because I looked it up, and a common theme seems to be that there are intros, and not usually long ones. 10 minutes sounds reasonable, and then afterwards there's Q&As that last about 45 minutes. Also, in the highlighted section, Cookie Queens was the third recommended title in the main overall Sundance website. So that's pretty awesome. You said that Olivia Wilde's The Invite, starring Seth Rogen, Penelope Cruz, and Edward Norton, 4 massive names that a lot of people know, was packed to the brim with staff having to turn 100 ticket holders away. Well, that does make sense. 4 powerhouses. Most likely they will be there. Olivia was there for sure. And it is also the top highlighted, the most talked about movie so far within Sundance. So you're comparing this little small, cute little Cookie Queens about kids selling Girl Scout cookies to the biggest movie premiering there. Where have I seen that bait and switch before? So for those that have already inferred, because you read that Duchess Meghan said something which isn't unusual at the beginning of a movie, that happens often, you then go on to say that it was uncommon for anyone to speak before the film, and that's not true. I've already showed you Olivia Wilde was doing it, and I imagine it happens often because it's Sundance. And then you end up gracing us with just 2 sentences Meghan said and talked nothing about the movie because you're pointlessly trying not to promote it, even though you're promoting it within this article. And she thanks everyone because she's kind of like that for getting up and coming at 9 a.m., which is when the movie premiered. So even if there was any unoccupied seats, it's 9 a.m. So to recap your lies, it did sell out. Your headline is wrong, and you know it. You claim there was 150 seats like you personally counted, but you do not show us any evidence of that whatsoever. You claim all of the movies were hard to get into, and then I showed you that not only was the one you claimed hard to get into still not sold out, Meghan's movie she produced is sold out. You claim that the screening began 10 minutes late, ignoring that it was because Duchess Meghan spoke. You act like there was some issue, and that's why it started like that. There's a problem when there wasn't. And then you said it was an uncommon move for people to talk before the screenings, which is also untrue, and I proved you wrong. 5 whole lies in 4 or 5 paragraphs of
and say that Cookie Queens is perhaps the cutest film at the festival. And I know this is a documentary, but you're going to see real star power in this film. So get ready for that. This is an earnest portrait of girls and their family, of ambition, love, and tenacity. And I don't want to say too much because before we welcome our director, I want to invite a very special guest on stage. Can you please join me in welcoming Meghan, Duchess of Sussex?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here bright and early. I know some of you probably had late nights last night, so extra thanks for the effort. Nothing that a little cookies and coffee can't help. Look, my husband and I and our 12 Productions, we are so proud and privileged to be able to support and uplift Cookie Queens. This film, yes, is probably the cutest at the festival, but I'm also going to go out on a limb and say it is one of the most powerful and meaningful depictions of something that is an American tradition and rooted in nostalgia, but is now put through this lens from the incredible creative vision of Alyssa to show something modernized about the girlhood experience and all the layers and complexity that come with that. So yes, it's cute. And yes, these young ladies are fantastic and adorable, but they are also layered, beautiful girls who are about to become very strong leaders and young women. So thank you for supporting that. thanks to our team at Archwell Productions, Chanel, Wesley, Q, we love you guys. Thank you so much for everything. Josh Braun, Maggie Pisacane, and then of course the producers. This film is such a labor of love. They have worked on for a couple of years, and with all of the hundreds of hours of trusted fly-on-the-wall material that they were able to capture with these families that let them in and allowed them to show and share their lives and their loves. I think the editorial in this that you'll see is also something pretty outstanding. But that is all testament to the talent and expertise of the director, Alyssa Namias, who is here today, and I'm so excited to introduce her to you. Please give her a big round of applause.
I'd like you to pay attention to the next clip. And it goes back to who controls the media, who controls what we read, what we believe, the stories that are told. Pay attention.
This 46-year-old owns almost all the entertainment media and you've never heard of him. Let me just scratch the surface. He owns Variety, Hollywood Reporter, and Deadline, so that's the big three entertainment news. He owns Billboard and the Billboard charts, Rolling Stone, WWD, Footwear News, IndieWire, Vibe. He also has a 20% stake in Vox Media, which owns all of these properties. Those are just publications. He also owns a bunch of experiences like the Golden Globes, the Country Music Awards, the American Music Awards, South by Southwest, the Billboard Music Awards, So You Think You Can Dance, and the Streaming Awards. He doesn't want you to know who he is, but that's what I'm here for. The first thing you need to know about Jay Penske is that he's a bigot and an asshole. He's the type of person who will be drunk in the parking lot of a Nantucket yacht club, urinate on a woman's boots, grab her, push her, and allegedly yelling, "You're not white enough" at the woman. Shortly after that 2012 incident, Penske bought Variety, apparently for the purpose of shutting down the story, and we didn't see his mugshots until earlier this year. He's also the type of person who will purchase a 100-year-old black church and displace his congregants, but he can build a mega mansion. Clearly, people were upset about it, and he did it anyway. And now that he's recently divorced, he allegedly was engaging in pay-to-play for the Golden Globes. Apparently, he decided to pull out. This seems like fake news, but we'll never know because he owns all the publication responsible for covering that sort of thing. That wouldn't be the first time he pimped out the Golden Globes. As independent outlet Puck News reports, they were charging low six figures to try to have a dinner with the voters for the Golden Globes. You probably never heard of this because, again, Penske owns everything. You know you're corrupt when a publication you own runs this headline. And that's still not the end of all the Golden Globes drama. Penske just added a podcasting category to the Golden Globes, so now far-right podcasters might be able to get a shiny trophy. You got people like Ben Shapiro doing a Times Square buyout to get an FYP for his nomination. But none of them were selected. They're crying foul even though no political podcast of any ideology made the top six. Oh, and by the way, Jay Penske owns the metrics to even determine which podcasts were eligible. And if you're wondering where the DOJ is in this, they investigated for antitrust, and of course, Trump's DOJ approved it. Here's Penske's dad, Roger, billionaire racing tycoon, receiving the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I know, what a snooze fest. As New York Times reports, Penske has the power to select the winners and losers in Hollywood. Hollywood saw that Ryan Coogler was going to get the rights to sinners back in 25 years and lost their minds. So he immediately became public enemy number one in the industry. And that is the reason why Penske Media has been attacking sinners. Pretending like 60 million opening weekend wasn't a big deal. And not even included on Rolling Stone's top 20 films of the year. Despite the fact that it was critically acclaimed by both audiences and critics. I bet you can guess which movie made Variety's list. Not once, but twice in the same article. That was a lot of information to pack in 3 minutes. I hope you have
So now that you've seen that video, let's slow this down. Because what you just watched is not a scandal. It is structure. Most people believe they are getting information from many places. Different magazines, different charts, different awards. They're not. We are not. They are getting information from one pipeline. In this case, controlled by Jay Penske. That pipeline includes Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, Billboard, Rolling Stones, WWD, IndieWire, Vibe, and the awards, the charts, and events that decide who matters and who doesn't. That is not diversity. That is gatekeeping. Here's the part people miss. You don't end a career today by banning someone. You end it by just, tinting the coverage a little. Whether you include them or you exclude them. A negative headline here, a minimized success there, an omission over here, a snub that never is explained. When the same person controls the press, the matrix, and the prizes, no memo is needed. People comply preemptively because they know who owns it. That's how power stays invisible. If this feels familiar, it should. This is exactly how the UK tabloid system operates. In Britain, most tabloids are controlled, and you folks know this, by Rupert Murdoch and Jonathan Harmsworth. Between them, they dominate narrative space. And now Rothamer, Jonathan, he's Viscount the Fourth, Rothamer, is moving to control ownership of the Telegraph, tightening that grip even further. Different country, same model. This is why so many people ask, why did coverage suddenly change? Why are these projects framed as risky or controversial? Why do successful, why do successes feel minimized? Because Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, refused to submit. They challenged institutions. They spoke openly. They took power to court. And systems like this punish noncompliance. Not loudly, quietly. This isn't about liking or disliking anyone. It's about media literacy. Once you understand who owns the microphone, you understand why certain voices fade and others rise. You stop asking, what did they do wrong? And start asking, who benefits from this framing? That question changes everything. This is not us being paranoid. It's pattern recognition. When too much narrative power sits in too few hands, truth doesn't disappear. It gets managed. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. That's why we talk about it here. That is why I will continue to bring it up here. Because for me, if you look at the last elections in the US, I was quite surprised when certain podcasters started talking very favorably to the present occupant of the White House. Then certain magazines started to feature certain things a certain way. The language started to change. Because you see, we have this idea that a lot of these entertainment magazines, a lot of magazines in general, are very liberal. And they may have an editor, right? A chief editor that may be liberal leaning, but the ownership of the magazines, right, is controlled by one person or a group that is more to the right. So just imagine all those names, all those labels, all those magazines is controlled by one person. He doesn't have to say anything. Not a thing. He owns your career. You don't obey? Oh, well. And that it just goes to show, like, as you folks remember when we were like, why would Variety write that article like that? That was just, well, now we know. Not like we didn't know before, but now we know for sure.
No single way, no one design, just learning how to lead. If I try, I learn. If I ask, I just as they need.
Now let's turn to something urgently serious. Prince Harry's recent appearance in court. And sitting behind him was a person known to have been a stalker. And that person continues to stalk Prince Harry. Let that settle. This is not metaphor, it is not rhetoric. It is a documented security concern unfolding in real time. And yet, somehow, we are still expected to pretend that his fight for protection is abstract, excessive, unnecessary. The same man who lost his mother to a preventable failure of protection is now told again that he is asking for too much. This is where storytelling matters. Because when you strip away palace language and legalese, the story is pretty simple. A man who served his country is denied the same protection afforded to those who stayed silent. A man who spoke openly about trauma is punished for refusing to live within a lie. In his own words, in Spear, Prince Harry made something painfully clear. Security was never about status. It was about duty of care. And what we are witnessing now is not the absence of risk, but the normalization of it. The stalker behind him in court is not an anomaly. It's basically becoming evidence. Evidence that the threat is real. Evidence that the warnings were justified. Evidence that ignoring danger does not make it disappear. It just delays the reckoning. Now, we were informed or told a little while ago that seems that they're going to prove the security. Well, we're waiting. Where is the official statement? We are waiting.
According to the Telegraph, while Prince Harry was sitting in High Court last week, suing the Daily Mail for unlawful intrusion, a known stalker was sitting just meters behind him in the public gallery. Not once, but twice. Let that sink in. A man in court arguing that years of press abuse has endangered his family had a person who is on the fixated individuals list physically present behind him, and there was nothing anyone can do about it legally. That's because it's a public building and because she has a right to be there, because he's private security and not the police, because he does not have state protection. And this is the part that people keep missing. He isn't speculating about danger. He is documenting danger in real time. This woman has done the following. She has followed him internationally. She has breached a secure zone at a London hotel. She has appeared repeatedly at his public engagements. And now she calmly positioned herself behind him in court. Make that make sense. The former UK counter-terrorist chief, Neil Basu, said what many officials refuse to say out loud. This is terrifying, this is anxiety-inducing, and this is exactly how fixation escalates. And here's the uncomfortable irony that nobody wants to touch. The same press being sued for unlawful unlawful intrusion reported the stalker after the fact, not to protect him, but to sensationalize the risk that they helped to create in the first place. Make that make sense. Because fixation doesn't happen in a vacuum. It feeds on exposure. It feeds on dehumanization. It feeds on years of hostile headlines that strip someone of normal boundaries. Another angle that many people are talking about is that Harry was once assessed as a level 7 out of 7 for threat risk, second only to the late Queen Elizabeth. 7 out of 7 is the highest possible category when it comes to risk assessment. That was in 2019. Has he become less famous since then? Has he become less polarizing? Has he become less targeted? Hell no. If anything, his profile is higher, the hostility is louder, and the stakes are greater, especially now that he is challenging the press itself. And yet, he is expected to walk into court, sit through hearings, and return to the UK without armed protection, while individuals with known fixations keep on stalking him, and legally, these people can sit behind him in court. Make it make sense. This is not normal. This is not safe. And this is how the state treats other... I don't know. I don't understand. I mean, is this how the state treats other individuals? No, this is not how they treat them. But because of spite, because of whatever, they're refusing. And remember when they said that the risk of Harry getting hurt and the public reaction that follows is far less than them doing nothing, that no one's going to care anyway. Yeah, we see you, we see your hand. So as far as I'm concerned, this security issue is inseparable from his legal cases, because Harry isn't just suing the papers for the past. He is also trying to stop the conditions that are creating his present danger. He warned Baroness Doreen Lawrence. He stood with multiple claimants. He exposed private investigators, and he forced settlements, and he triggered disclosures legally. And that makes him a threat, not just to the tabloids, but to the entire ecosystem that has often relied on secrecy. And the ecosystems, they definitely push back. And another overlooked point that I feel is important to make today is that he's not asking for special treatment. He's asking for an expert-led, transparent assessment. That's all he's asking for. A risk assessment based on his current threat level. But ethics still matter, because Harry has been explicit. He will not bring Meghan or his children back to the UK without protection. Not because he's being dramatic, but because he's already watched how obsession can turn into danger. We know of a number of derangers who have literally crossed oceans just so they can go and stand in Montecito to scream, to carry placards, to go to God's Mother bookstore. We know derangers who've tried and failed to go to Germany, to Dusseldorf for the Invictus Games. We know the lengths that these fixated idiots will go to. And now we see it plainly. A stalker in the courtroom sitting meters behind him. A public building, and there was no power to remove her. And no police detail and no state buffer. This isn't paranoia. This is his lived reality. And here's the final piece that maybe many people have not clocked yet. The decision that Ravek makes doesn't just affect Harry. It sets a precedent. And if a globally recognized figure with documented fixation threats, a history of targeting, and ongoing litigation exposing criminal press behavior can be left this exposed in the UK in particular, then the system isn't broken, it's functioning exactly the way it was designed to. And Harry said it himself. He said, "The UK is my home. It is central to my children's heritage. But home without safety is not a home. It is a risk." And the fact that a stalker could sit behind him in court while he argues for protection tells you everything about why he's fighting and why the fight is far from over. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, please. My name's Elizabeth. I'm the author of The Luxpreneur. Please get your copy from Amazon to support my work. And for more insights like these, please like, share.
It is with great humility that we enter the following into the hall of gratitude. We thank you for your contribution to the channel the last few months. Black Pearl, thank you for being a member of the Royal Court, 20 months. Lydia Washington, thank you for being a member of the Royal Court, 21 months. Connie Balmer, thank you for being a member of the Royal Court, 19 months. Callie Jen, thank you for being a member of the Royal Court, 5 months. And the following, thank you for being subscribers and for your contribution. Tiger Mommy, Someone, Jennifer Clark, Hen Pal, Matilda Adensuloye, Marlene Williams, Cedia Sharifia, Dina Cardoso. Thank you for being a benefactor. Thank you for your contributions. It is much appreciated.
The chamber is called to stillness by order of the Crown of Majesty Sussex, and with the witness of this royal court, we gather to mark a moment of elevation, ascension proclamation. By witness of this royal court and by the authority entrusted to it, today we recognize Sharon Naismith of the House of Naismith. Having served with integrity, steadiness, and discernment, and having upheld the values of this realm without wavering, Her Royal Highness, Sharon Naismith, is hereby elevated from Regent to the rank of Majesty Council. This honor is not bestowed for title alone, but for wisdom shown, trust earned, and service given. Rise now, Your Majesty, Sharon Naismith, not apart from the court, but within its highest council. So witnessed, so affirmed, so it is.
And now this, the present occupant of the White House and NATO. We were told loudly that alliances were, well, optional, that collective defense was negotiable, that loyalty came with a price tag. Then quietly, the tune changed. Suddenly reassurances, suddenly reversals, suddenly words meant to calm the very instability they created. This is the rhythm of transactional leadership. Threaten first, reassure later, deny accountability always. And here is where the contrast matters. Because in all of this, in wars, in disinformation, in rising authoritarianism, and the comfort that they feel, Prince Harry was the only royal who spoke plainly, not for applause, not for positioning, but because silence at that moment would have been complicity. Let me say that again. Silence at that moment would have been complicity. Leadership is not volume, it is consistency. Leadership is not dominance, it is moral cohesion, comprehension, coherence. And courage is not the absence of fear, it is a refusal to outsource conscience. Prince Harry did not hedge, he did not wait for consensus, he did not hide behind tradition. He spoke. And in doing so, he reminded us that titles do not confer bravery. Doesn't matter how many medals you put or you kind of uniform you put on as a masquerade ball. Titles do not confer bravery. Choices do.
Starmer couldn't do. Prince Harry has responded to Trump. What Keir Starmer couldn't do, Prince Harry has done. Trump said British troops didn't fight alongside America in Afghanistan. Keir Starmer, in his usual weak, cowardly response, didn't have much to say. He just said Trump should apologize. King Charles, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't he the head of the armed forces? These are his men Trump's talking about. King Charles, he prefers to host state dinners and cozy up to Trump and smile in his face, and King Milton sitting down there and William acting like a fanboy of Trump. And then he says the most insulting thing about the armed forces of this country, and none of them could reply. They've all kept quiet. But Prince Harry has responded better than any statesman, any head of state, any prime minister, any king or prince, heir to the throne. This is what he said. And you can call Harry a lot of things, but you cannot call him cowardly. He's brave. That's how he faced up to Daily Mail in court after being warned not to, after being told that it was not in his best interest to take on Daily Mail, to take on the press. And yet again, he's taking out Donald Trump. And some people are saying, oh, it's very stupid to do so. Visit this, visit that, blah, 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 deportation, this and that. Do they think Harry is stupid? Like, do they think he wouldn't have thought of all of the possibilities? Everybody knows how vindictive and petty Trump is. And yet he stood up bravely and defended the armed forces, defended people he fought alongside with in Afghanistan. That is a man. That's king material. I don't know about any of the rest of the RF, but that King Harry, Prince Harry, that's king material. Argue with your wall. Don't want to hear it.
Is this the worst thing he's ever done? They'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan or this or that. And they did. They stayed a little back, a little off the front lines. The commander-in-chief of our biggest ally to empty ashtrays over our graves, to deny that sacrifice was even made. We've never needed them. Do you think Putin told him that? Where on earth would the President of the United States of America get the idea that NATO allies somehow held back from the front line? It is a beyond comprehension moment. It's a moment of unutterable horror. You can't become normalized. You can't become complacent just because the thing that happened yesterday was gross. You can't let it dilute the grossness of what happened today. Is this the worst thing he...
There is a question that follows Meghan Sussex like a reflex. When violence escalates, when politics skirtle, when a moral line is crossed, why hasn't she spoken? Why hasn't she said anything? It's asked with an air of righteousness, as though the question itself is neutral. But guess what? It isn't. It assumes that silence is a failure, but also when practiced by certain people. The demand relies on a kind of collective forgetting. Before marriage, Meghan criticized number 47 openly. She spoke about misinformation. She engaged in voter participation. She named racial violence directly. Each time she did, the response wasn't dialogue, it was escalation. Her legitimacy was questioned. Her citizenship was politicized. Her presence was framed as a liability. That history is not incidental. It is the reason restraint now gets mislabeled as indifference. Activist language gets recycled without context. Phrases about neutrality and betrayal are thrown around as if risk is evenly distributed. Well, we know it's not. It's not. Black women have always been expected to speak first, but then observe the blow and keep standing. When they pause, it's called abandonment. When others pause, it's called discretion. They're taking time to think. This double standard is old, it's documented, and it's deliberate. Even the words of Martin Luther King Jr. are stripped of context and weaponized, not to challenge power, but to discipline Black women who choose safety over martyrdom. Some people can demand statements without consequence. You see, Meghan cannot. She lives with documented threats, revoked security, immigration scrutiny tied to her husband, and the responsibility of protecting two children. Asking her to just speak is not symbolic. It is asking her to absorb real danger so others can feel morally satisfied. That is not solidarity. It is extraction. What's most revealing is how narrow the outrage remains. The pressure never moves upward. Taxpayer-funded royals are not pressed to comment. Those closest to institutional power remain comfortably silent. Even when Prince Harry was the only royal to challenge 47's remarks about British troops, the institution did not follow. And yet, the demand circles back to the same person. She must speak. She must lead. She must prove care, that she cares. Again and again. The real question is not why Meghan has not spoken. It is why so many people refuse to accept that Black women are allowed to stop performing salvation on demand. Silence chosen for safety is not betrayal. It is self-preservation in a culture that still expects Black women to give until there is nothing left. Meghan Sussex is not your effing shield. She is not a symbol to be deployed when others miscalculate. She has spoken, and she has paid for it. Restraint now is not indifference. It is accountability. Perhaps the discomfort isn't that she hasn't spoken. Perhaps it's that she no longer performs suffering on cue. And that, more than silence, is what some people cannot forgive. We have talked about truth and how easily it is bent. We've talked about courage and how rarely it is rewarded. We've talked about noise and how power uses it to distract. What remains is burden. Who is expected to speak? Who is expected to risk? Who is expected to clean up what others enable? Understanding media power teaches us to question narratives. Understanding courage teaches us to respect those who act anyway. Understanding burden teaches us to stop demanding sacrifice from the same people over and over and over again. This is not about silence. It is about who gets to be safe. And once you see that clearly, the question is no longer, why hasn't she spoken? The question becomes, why are we so comfortable asking her to pay the price? That is where responsibility truly lies. Well, I hope you got something out of today's podcast. You learned something, or it was able to distract you or take your mind off of things. The snowstorm that hit the East Coast, I might post one or two pictures for you folks to see. And I hope everyone is staying warm. I hope that you're not exhausting yourself too much. Just be mindful of your body, especially when one has to clear the snow and all of that. So just please be mindful, and don't try and do too much all at once. If this is the first time you've discovered us, do subscribe. We would appreciate it. It helps us. For those who already are subscribers, thank you so very much for continuing to be here. Make sure you have your notification on. And remember to engage with the algorithm. So like, share, download, comment, all of those things. And for those of you who are watching the ads or adverts, thank you so very much, because it helps. So continue to watch them. I don't expect you to be watching the ones that are like an infomercial. Okay, you can skip those, not a problem. But if you can, watch a few, that would be great. If you will indulge me, and I'm going to try and say this without getting emotional. Today is my dad's birthday. Well, it's past midnight now, so I guess yesterday was my dad's birthday. I don't know what to say. Okay, I will sign off with this song that that I wrote, and that was played at Thank you so very much for your support. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Be kind to yourselves. Please, please, please be kind to yourselves. Be kind to your loved ones and to that stranger that might be crossing your path. Be kind to them. There is some really evil and dark stuff out there. Don't lose hope. Don't lose your happiness. Don't lose your joy. Not for them, for you, for us. Don't lose your joy, your happiness. Sing, dance, rejoice. Let your body know, let your soul know, let your heart know that what it feels like to be happy, what it feels like to laugh, what it feels like to dance, like no one is watching. Thank you so very much. Take care of yourselves. Until next time. Bye for now.
You never said the words out loud, but I heard them in your silence. In the way you worked, in the things you built, in the tears you tried to hide. You'd grumble, you'd groan, you'd turn away, pretending it's all fine. But I saw your love in the smallest things, and I knew that love was mine. A jeweler's hands, a warrior's heart, you left it all behind. To love the girl your father shunned, and build your own design. They said I'd never make it far, you fought to keep me here. Now every breath I take in peace is because you fought through fear. I see you, Father, even when you turn away. I see the battles that you fought, the price you chose to pay. You don't need to speak, your silence speaks so loud. I see you, Father, and I hope I make you proud. That night at the beach you held my hand and broke beneath the moon. Said let me apologize, I never needed proof. But when I saw your eyes in tears, the quiet man revealed that all along your heart had been the place where I could heal. You gave, you worried, you held it in, complained about the day. Somehow still you always came and never walked away. You didn't raise me with big words, you raised me with your spine. And now I live the life I choose because you gave me time. I see you, Father, in your every quiet stand, in the way you showed up, gift in hand, when I never thought you'd care. You may not say it, but I know it's true. El hombre callado, mi padre fiel, gracias por tu amor tan puro y tan real. You never asked for thanks, but Father, this one's for you.